Again, dear viewers, you're watching Eri-TV. Welcome to this special edition of Sat Guests. We have two panelists abroad, Dr. Gideon Abay Asmorom. He is a professor of mathematics at the Commonwealth University from Richmond, Virginia. And Ms. Sophia Tesfamariam, she is the director of U.S. Foundation for the Horn of Africa from Washington. So what evidence does the so-called Commission of Inquiry present for its many allegations? Ms.
It
Sophia.
doesn't present any evidence. The evidence is in the faces of the faceless and the names of the nameless. We are told to just believe the Commission, and the Commission's standard of proof is if the Commission believed that it was true, then it must be true. So it really doesn't matter what our presuppositions are. It doesn't matter that Eritreans know about their country and their leadership or their institutions of government or their many grassroots organizations, all their youth and women organizations, or what we are working with them or what we're doing with them. We don't know anything about Eritrea. She knows everything about Eritrea. The Commission of Inquiry knows more about Eritrea than the people of Eritrea do. They know more about what we need than what we tell them we need. So the Commission of Inquiry's report to me, if this wasn't 2015, it would look like a colonial era dictum of some kind. It was not a Commission's report searching for anything to do with human rights. You know, if you recall the Human Rights Convention to begin with, there are almost 20, 25 articles that call for social and economic rights, the right to food, the right to water, the right to education, you know, many things that the West doesn't accept with the Human Rights Conventions, and would rather you have no food, no water, no electricity, no education, no programs for your youth, no vaccinations. If you just had a newspaper in town, you would be considered a Democrat. I think that's the easiest way to put it. The political rights that they claim are non-existent in Eritrea are probably the most exemplary in the Horn of Africa. They're most exemplary in Africa, and I would dare to say the most exemplary in the whole world, where all religions participate and all religions live in harmony in that country. And we know what the religious groups are doing and propagating around the world. And this anti-Islam sentiment that seems to be pervasive everywhere, including in the reports that these commissions are doing, and these organizations like Christian Solidarity Worldwide and all that. So the 500 pages was meant to confuse. The 500 pages was a collection of nonsense, and there was no evidence provided. That's the big issue. No evidence has been provided. Just hearsay and innuendos, and then the Commission's self-proclaimed knowledge of what's best for Eritrea.
Okay. Ms. Sophia, to continue, just one question. The Commission of Inquiry report focuses on Eritrea's development sectors, the Summer Youth Program, the War-Cyclo Development Projects, SAWA, etc. My question is, why are these sectors targeted?
Exactly for the reason why Eritrea is targeted all along. Eritrea's development sectors are the most productive in terms of the participation of the people. The summer youth programs, I think every African group that's coming up now at the African Union or any other development program, talk about the summer youth program and the participation of youth in planting trees, in terracing, water harnessing. That is yet to be done in other countries. They're coming up with programs to involve the youth. Eritrea has already done that. But for some reason, the Commission of Inquiry has decided that the summer youth program is abuse of the youth in Eritrea. The War-Cyclo program, the very same thing. It's abuse of these youth. And of course, SAWA and the National Service has been really turned on its head and presented as the worst thing that can happen to Eritrean youth, or something to that effect. So these sectors, to me, are targeted because these are the sectors that are really showing what Eritreans can do if they're left to their own devices, is how much Eritreans can do for themselves, the self-reliance principle, and the ability to mobilize your population for development. How that would be a human rights abuse, it is something that is going to be a hard sell, and it's going to be an even harder sell as people remove themselves from development programs in Africa and require that Africans start doing more for themselves. How would you require Africans to do for themselves if you're busy undermining those that have shown that it can work and can do for themselves, and come up with programs that suit the population and programs that are really innovative in not just in the way they're conducted, but innovative in the sense that they're multiplier effects for the exponential growth that young developing countries like Eritrea are undergoing. So why this program in Eritrea would not be celebrated, to me seems just a political reason. There's no rhyme or reason why they would undermine a program that works and works extremely well for the development of youth, whom Africa is suffering from a youth bulge. There's a huge youth population in every single African country. Would they rather have Eritrean kids running around gun-toting and killing themselves and on drugs and alcohol? What is wrong with having disciplined youth who are productive and are producing something that is worth more monetarily? Everything here is measured in dollars and cents, I guess, and in Eritrea it's measured in dignity and pride. So I'm not sure why they would undermine these programs, but these are the programs that they targeted, probably because they're the most successful in Eritrea, and they know that these programs will eventually end up making Eritrea achieve the desired development goals in the various sectors that they're engaged in.
Okay, Ms. Sophia, has the Commission of Inquiry delivered its report to the UN Human Rights Council? We'll start with that.
No, it hasn't. It has delivered it to the public. It has delivered it through the news media, and it's delivered it to the think tanks and institutions that are supposed to help it, give it the push and the umph that it needs before it gets to the Human Rights Council. I believe it's going to be delivered 23rd or 24th of June. So it was delivered through the media and released through the media. Supposedly, according to Keitha Ruth, it was a chance to give states a chance to read the long document, and so that by the time she delivers it, they would have everything under their belts or so. But to me, it was a pre-planned move to, in conjunction with the media and the NGO networks, which is very big, to give this report that was a very hollow report the body and the gumption that it needed before it made it to the Human Rights Council. So as far as I'm concerned, the day it was released to the public, people got a chance to really see the operation and the way the system works, and considered it dead on arrival. So by the time the 23rd and the 23rd and 24th come, and she delivers it to the Human Rights Council, I think the public opinion would have already been swayed against the report and absolutely rejected by the majority of Eritreans. So I'm not sure where she's going to go with it. And she can deliver it to the Human Rights Council, but it's not going to have the weight that she and her partners thought it would have.
Okay, but is it normal practice to present it to the public before it is officially presented? Sophia?
I'm not sure. She did it. She's done it before. She did that with her two previous reports. Maybe Dr. Gideon will have an idea of how these things are, but it would seem to me you are commissioned by the Human Rights Council. They're the ones that gave you your mandate. They're the ones that you're supposed to deliver your report to, and you should deliver the report to the party that you were assigned to. And then after that, if the media gets hold of it, if you want to do your interviews, if you want to do your sitcoms and talk about it, that's a different story. But to go to the public and try to sway public opinion before you deliver your report, to me sounds, a little bit the wrong way to do things. And if that's the way the Human Rights Council works, then maybe this is a procedure that they need to change, because this undermines the credibility of the report. It undermines the integrity of the system, and it undermines the whole work of the Human Rights Council if the media and the NGO community and everybody else is going to be discussing the report and spinning it in every which way that they want to before it actually gets to the Human Rights Council. So what's the point of taking it to the Human Rights Council? So you're assuming 47 people are the only ones in the world that didn't get a chance to see this report. So you're going to go all the way to Geneva to deliver it to 47 people. Those should have been your primary audience for the report. And once the Human Rights Council has talked about it, Eritrea has had its chance to respond, and then you could have a balanced report out there for everybody to discuss. But at this point, Eritrea's voice is completely shut out. So unless the Commission had misconceived their orders or in their mandate, and I don't see any reason why they would think it was okay to go to the media first instead of going to the Commission that gave them the mandate to begin with, and allow the Commission and the other dignitaries at the Human Rights Council ask the questions and present their opinions before they take it out there and have nondescript people talking about Eritrea, people that don't even know where Eritrea is, were being fed all this ugliness for at least 10 days before her report, which was a public relations scheme, nothing more. And to me, when it came to Eritreans, it backfired. So she didn't get the traction that she wanted.
But what is the stated purpose?
Well, I think that's the million-dollar question. That's a question we should ask the Commission. What was the purpose? The purpose to me in doing the report in the first place was so that they could have an understanding of the human rights situation in Eritrea and help not to hurt situations in Eritrea. But the way the Commission's report came out and the publicity that ensued and the media blitz, it was just amazing. Within an hour, there were over 100 media outlets and writing all kinds of reports about Eritrea, cut and paste from their report, which means they got it even before we saw it in the media. So the purpose to me was to sway public opinion to not give Eritrea equal attention and say in what the report contained. And next week we'll have our say, and we will hear what the response will be from the Eritrean side. But in the meantime, I think it also gave us a chance to see how these institutions and these UN bodies can be manipulated by some states and some institutions and some countries and some individuals and groups to advance political agendas. It has absolutely nothing to do with human rights. And I think this commission, this particular commission in Geneva, has proved more than anything that inquiry commissions can devastate a situation and devastate countries, and there are inquiry commissions that can do wonderful work and promote human rights in our world today. So the purpose was to tarnish Eritrea's image, but you can't tarnish something that you don't know. So Eritrea's image cannot be tarnished by a COI report that's based on hearsay and innuendos, because there are live Eritreans all around the world that really know the truth about Eritrea, and we have hundreds of thousands of visitors that see Eritrea every day. So I think that aim and that mission was dead on arrival. It failed.
Ms. Sophia, I want to know more about the media coverage. What was it like?
I think that Gideon can attest to that. We were following it the first few hours after the release of the report, and it was amazing. Big and small media outlets, blogs. I think they contacted everybody in town that could possibly disseminate the stories for them, and everybody took his angle. You know, there were people that questioned the national service. Then you had another group talking about the religious issue, and it was such an insulting morning because there were Christian groups, and my understanding that the Bible says, "Thou shalt not lie." But here is a report that came out from a Christian organization, and the report said something about Eritreans were locked in the desert somewhere. The temperatures were extremely hot, and this guy who was preaching, who was an evangelist, gung-ho about his religion and all that, and he was imprisoned because he was evangelizing, and they locked him outside for 3 days in very hot weather, really burning sun during the day and really cold at night, and forced him to eat food out of the trash can. And I'm going, okay, any other place, maybe this would sell, but what trash can? In what desert? Where in Eritrea would you find a trash can? Anybody that knows anything about Eritrea will tell you this was a completely fabricated story. And if you searched on the internet, you would find many instances of American kids being forced by their teachers, by the schools and all that to eat trash from trash cans and all that. But nothing like that happens in Africa. But why they think they could go beyond and fabricate and create stories and publish that kind of reports about countries they don't know anything about, cultures they don't know anything about, to me is a hard sell. It was a really big push in the media to really sell this ugliness about Eritrea and present Eritrea in the most ugliest ways and in the most demeaning ways and the most insulting to the people. I figure they find themselves thinking they got a few points against the government. I think that's what they were thinking. But their writing proves their contemptuousness, condescending attitude towards Eritreans, and most of all, a total misunderstanding or misconception of what Eritrean culture and what Eritrean people are like. So the stories are still being produced, and they're being produced by nondescript people who've never been to Eritrea, who are cut and pasting from various sources. And so, the media coverage was big, but it's dying down. We haven't seen as much in the last couple of days, but I imagine it'll pick up again when the commissioners present their paper on the 23rd or on the 24th in Geneva. But the Eritrean public will also have its own response to them, so maybe we don't need the media coverage to tell our story, and we're perfectly capable of telling it in our own way without the blitz.
How about in the African media?
Well, the African media, very little coverage. But we were engaging very strong on social media, and the African media and the African journalists are coming to terms with the Western media and how its agenda-setting media works, and questioning some of its methods and questioning some of the things. So to me, in terms of access, the Eritrean public is much more in tune with the media out there, and I think we can take our messages further than we did before. And social media is the equalizer as far as I'm concerned, because where we didn't have this access and we didn't have the spread and we didn't have the ownership of the media conglomerates out there, through social media we're able to reach everyday normal Americans, Europeans, Africans, Indians, and people from all over the world who share and have similar experiences and sentiments on the issues that we do. So the media coverage in Africa on Eritrea is growing. It's not to the level where we want it to be. But don't forget, some of the media also in Africa is owned by these conglomerates out there. So the corporate media affects the way they do their reporting. But there is some progressive media that's covering Eritrea that wasn't available to us in the 10, 15 years ago. So through social media and the active participation of Eritreans around the world, we've been able to tell our story in a much better forum than what was available to us before. And we have been approached by mainstream media, and I think we've gotten to the point where we're rejecting mainstream media and opting to go for progressive media that really can cover and analyze the situation in Eritrea, the development in Eritrea, development journalism versus hyper-sensationalism that the corporate media is pushing for. So I think the African media is one that we need to develop and work with.
Okay, Dr. Gideon, Ms. Sophia, thank you so much for your time. Dear viewers, our panels from Richmond, Virginia, and Washington are Dr. Gideon Abay Asmorom. He's a professor of mathematics at the Commonwealth University, and Ms. Sophia Tesfamariam, the director of U.S. Foundation for the Horn of Africa in Washington. That wraps up this week's special edition of Sad Guests. It is good night from us.